Before we move on to the next simon, which discusses the halacha of the candle, which we make a bracha on for part of Havdalah, I just wanted to mention, forgot to mention yesterday, that although technically one is permitted to go to his spice drawer and use the spice that they use for cooking, it is preferable to set aside a special besamim just for Havdalah. Meaning it's better to have one, not the one they use for cooking and for other purposes, but it should be set aside. And according to some, it should even be glass. It should be in a holder made out of glass and not, some other material like silver, because very often silver can give like a metallic taste after a while. So it's better to use a glass and have a special one just for seven. Okay, so the next simon, Reish Ches Tzadi, is the halacha of the Ner Havdalah, the candle which we make out of Havdalah. So the Shulchan Aruch says we make the bracha borei that Hashem created many different types of flames. Now, why are we talking in the plural? So the Gemara explains, because if you look closely at a candle, you'll see many different colors. There's white, there's blue, there's green, all different colors, and therefore we make the bracha borei. However, says the Shulchan Aruch, one does not have to, if he doesn't have a candle, then he doesn't have to go far to try to fetch one. He could make Havdalah without it. Now, why do we make the bracha on Eish on Motzei Shabbos? So the Gemara himself tells us that it was on Motzei Shabbos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Adam HaRishon the idea of taking two rocks and rubbing them together until he created a fire. This happened on Motzei Shabbos. So to commemorate that time when he was given this idea, we all thought it was the Flintstones, right? Isn't that right? Was Flintstones the one who created the fire? Okay, either way. But in fact, it was Adam HaRishon on Motzei Shabbos, and that's why we do borei.
So can you use a match instead of a candle?
Yeah.
It's the same idea, right?
Yeah. No, you don't need to. We don't need to set on Motzei Shabbos.
No. But I mean, it's still, if you can use flint, then you should be able to use a match.
Oh, so we're gonna see what.
Instead of a candle, can you use a match?
So we're gonna see. Ideally, it's supposed to be a torch. For a different reason, we're gonna see it's a torch because the torch has a lot of light. But if a person can't find the torch, then you put two wicks together. The Ramah is going to tell us, and that's considered a torch. However, there's one opinion which says that even though on a regular Motzei Shabbos we do not have to go far and wide to try to find the candle, however, there's one exception, and that is Motzei Yom Kippur. On Motzei Yom Kippur, according to some opinions, you must have a candle. Now, why is that? So the Mishnah tells us, right, because it's to kind of to show us that it's different than all the other Yom Tovim. We know that a regular Yom Tov, we're allowed to use a fire. We're allowed to, you can't create a new fire, but you could take from an old fire to a new fire for the purpose of cooking. But on Yom Kippur, where you're not allowed to do that, because obviously there's no special heter, there's no special dispensation to cook on Yom Kippur if you're not allowed to eat. So in that case, you're supposed to have a candle we commemorate that it was previously it was usher, it was forbidden, and now it's permitted. Now, if you're going to ask me a question, hang on. So that just explains why you should do Yom Kippur. So why is it any better than a regular Shabbos? So the answer is because there's a difference between the Havdalah candle on Motzei Shabbos and on Yom Kippur. On Motzei Shabbos, you could create a new flame. However, we're going to see when it comes to Yom Kippur, before Yom Kippur we'll discuss, that Yom Kippur you're supposed to have a candle Ner Shabbos, which means a candle which rested, which means it was lit before Yom Kippur, and then you make Havdalah on that candle after Yom Kippur. So Shabbos, you don't have that element. So since this candle, a few hours ago was forbidden to use, and now it's permitted, so for that you're supposed to have a bracha for Havdalah, and the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah says that if a person does not have a cup, if a person can't make Havdalah, then he can make these brachas independently, which means even if he's not going to be able to make Havdalah that night, so if he sees a flame, he can make a bracha on the flame, and if he gets a hold of something, he can make that even independent of the Havdalah.